got the whole team.
Everybody's here.
Everybody's here. I love it.
Call the roll for the Finance Committee, please.
Ms. Bucks?
Here.
Ms. Fryer?
Here.
Ms. Shakarian?
Here.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Here.
Ms. Rashid?
Here.
Mr. Corrigan?
Here.
And Mr. Parker?
The first item on the agenda for the Finance Committee is resolution to accept gifts for the month of November routinely. Oh, there's a presentation, I'm sorry.
Where you at?
Yeah, there's a presentation.
I'm sorry. I was reading. It's a presentation by Matt. Oh, there he is.
Hello,
About
folks.
that, Matt, I was reading out. Go ahead.
All good.
Hey, Matt, get started. Let me give a little context because Trustee Rodriguez had asked a little bit about Job Bite and wanted a little bit more detail. So we asked Matt to come in and give an overview of Job Bite. Go ahead, Matt.
All right, exactly. So what I want to do is just take you through a brief experience for our candidates. This is now coming up on the anniversary of using JobVite. So I just want to kind of give you a sense of what it is that this does. So I have a video presentation and I'm going to talk you through it. So the candidate experience really begins at our external website. And once our folks select a job that they're looking for, it's going to take them into the system. And the beauty of the system is everything is interconnected. And as you can see, all the job information will post up from the start, and then they can apply. Applications for us are much simpler than the past. It's a matter of connecting personal information and an email. The email is going to be the key for all of our interactions using JobVite. So once all that information is in, and we move on to applying for our application, it's going to take us into an area where we can go ahead and just upload a resume. Very simply done. And the resume will parse, which means it'll pull all the information from the resume and put it into the appropriate field. So a candidate will just have to go in, look and make sure everything's correct. If they find something that is not right, they'll be able to delete it or edit it, whichever makes it the most sense for them. And as they continue, education is right there, pulling right from the resume. They'll do their employment verification that they're able to work here at the library. Once those questions are complete, and those quickly usually take a minute or two to do, we're looking at the equal opportunity of questions that do not necessarily play into the decision, but are important for our statistics, for our stats. Then they're finally able to upload a cover letter or resume or additional materials such as credentialing and so forth. Once all that's done, they're hitting their application to submit and receiving that green check that says that they are done. And as you can see, that takes all of 2 minutes or just about to complete for a very clean user experience.
Any questions, anyone?
I have a question. Thank you for that presentation. And you might not have the answer, but what would you say is the margin of error from when someone uploads their resume and it pre-populates? I know other softwares like LinkedIn or Indeed have similar features, and obviously it depends how someone formats their resume. It might pull or put information in different places. Have you heard it's pretty accurate for the most part?
For the most part, we've heard the feedback we've been getting is it's pretty accurate. This is also the exact same process that our internal candidates need to go through. So if they're an internal candidate, it's pulling the same information from a resume. More times than not, everything is pulling correctly. We have not had any issues where people said there have been problems with it.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a quick one. Do we generate Thank you for applying correspondence soon after it ends.
Yes, we do. That actually is automated through the system. So as soon as we receive that application and it's uploaded, as the candidate is seeing that it's accepted, a message is going out to the candidate saying that we've received their application and thanking them for applying.
And is there any inbuilt way so that after a month, we've not said anything to them and they've not inquired of us, we have a way of, telling them that it's still under consideration or you've been eliminated, or what's the story there? What do we do?
Typically what happens is as the application moves through the processes, the system automates all of that information. So as candidates are moving on, they will be alerted that they're moving on, or if they have been rejected, they will get that information as that process happens. So it is part of the workflows that are built in the background of this system to make sure that communication is being used consistently. Additionally, one of the things you saw on there was opt-in for messaging. So our recruiters can actually message our applicants at any time, and they can get text messages for any additional questions or concerns that they have throughout that process. So if somebody does have a question or concern and they want to know about it, we can message them back in quick time for turnarounds.
Do they, by any chance, let the applicant know the time frame or the potential time frame from the time they apply to possibly when they'll get notification?
Notification. I do not have that at my disposal. I do know that our average has been around 45 days for a complete hire. So I would imagine that their information is getting in pretty clear within that time frame.
The reason I asked my question is I had a distraught father whose son with advanced degrees was surprised that he had not gotten any reply. So I basically said, I don't think that's how our system works, and found out he was applying to county. So you guys escaped any concern on my part on that, but that's why I wanted to ask the question.
No, I appreciate that. No, the wonderful thing about this system is it does keep a consistent flow of information between candidates and our recruiters. So it is really working out very well for that process.
That's great. If there are no other questions for Matt, we'll go on with the Finance Committee.
And so next month, we'll bring in, Anna's out on vacation right now. The next month, we'll bring Terry Ford, who is kind of replacing Althea as the head recruiter. So we'll get a chance to meet her and, any other questions you might have about the recruitment process. She'll have had some time to kind of work through them.
That's great, thanks. So we go back to Finance Committee, and I apologize again for not reading the top of the notice. Resolution, Exhibit 1 is the normal resolution to accept gifts for the prior month of November, whereas the board receives gifts of monies, library service, materials, technology resources, and miscellaneous non-monetary gifts from generous citizens from time to time. It resolved that gifts described in the gift report for November 2025 be accepted upon the conditions connected with said gifts in accordance with section 3375.40K of the Ohio Revised Code. Any outstanding gifts you should tell us about?
Yes, we received the $1 million contribution from Mandel for Neoba.
Oh, I thought it was a different one.
Oh, no.
This is wonderful.
This is from,
Good.
for
The
CPL.
matching game.
Yeah.
The matching game. Good, good.
And the second,
Second.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Butts,
Yes.
and Ms. Shakarian.
Yes.
I've got to figure out a way to do this so that I don't keep going back to the home page. That's what I did, I hit that, and that's what this did.
You got it at the bottom, yeah.
Yeah, I got to the bottom. Okay. All right. Exhibit 2 is a resolution to accept a grant from NOPEC Foundation to reinstate the Seed Library Program at the Cleveland Public Library. Whereas NOPEC is the Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, Ohio's largest nonprofit energy aggregator, combining the buying power of hundreds of communities to negotiate lower priced electricity and natural gas for over 1 million residential and small businesses. And be it resolved that the Executive Director, CEO, or his designee is authorized to enter into and execute any agreements or instruments necessary to fulfill the terms and conditions of this resolution, subject to the approval of the library's chief legal officer. So who's going to explain this one for us?
Tracy
Yes, happily.
and Marina,
Yes.
both of you can come up.
I could too, because I got seeds. And they grew so beautifully. Everybody, my neighbors and everybody was commenting on the seeds. They were the short sunflowers. They were beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, great. And it also remediates the soil too, just. so
Yes,
you know.
and I de-headed them and I'm saving them for next year.
Oh, see?
Excellent.
Well done. Hi, everyone. I'll briefly just mention the opportunity and then let Marina talk about the what it's going to do for the library. So it's a $10,000 grant awarded from the NOPEC Foundation, which is a supporting fund of the Cleveland Foundation. And they're really big into supporting sustainability, environmental issues, things like that. And so it was a natural fit for the work Marina's doing here. And I'll let her talk about what she plans to do with the grant funds.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tracy. So, and thank you for the opportunity to share. So the plan is, as you may have known, that the Cleveland Seed Bank folded in 2024. So we didn't have a distributor for our seed library last year. So we were able, this grant is going to allow us to be able to expand the seed library program to not just the 5 or 10 that we had in the past, but to, make sure every neighborhood has a seed library. So that is the plan for 2026.
I just have a
So,
question.
yes.
Do you believe this grant will be able to cover the cost to expand it? I know it's smaller, but still wonderful.
So it's a great question. So what I'm working on right now, after today, I'm ready to, next steps is to obtain 3 quotes from 3 different distributors. And they will be the non-GMO heirloom seeds. So they're very specialized seeds that you can't find in, your regular hardware store. And that being said, we will have fewer seed quantities at each location because we want to expand it system-wide. We did ask for a lot more for this seed library program, but we are going to make it work with the $10,000.
And just remind me again, the seed bank decision to suspend operations, how was that made in 24? Because I forgot.
Wow.
So the Cleveland Seed Bank was a separate nonprofit entity. We really don't know. We haven't been given the details behind why they
were
folded.
Cleveland Foundation grant, I believe,
Yes,
funded.
correct. hmm
So, all right.
So we're not really sure. We don't have the inside scoop on what exactly
We'll
happened.
just have to give the Cleveland Foundation a hard time. All right.
But
So
every branch library will have.
So,
one,
yes,
but it
mhm.
won't seem like one name to another.
yes, that is the plan. We really want to spread the love to all the neighborhoods because it is a very popular program. And it'll also be, we'll also have one at the West Side Market, Book Nook, and the satellite locations as well. So,
Can you say a little bit more about the variety of plants, how long the
Mhm.
seed libraries are open, a bit more?
So typically we launch the seed library program in April around Earth Day, Earth Month, Arbor Day. And so with that, basically we have it available until we run out of seeds throughout the whole year. Because in the fall, patrons will be able to check out seeds that you can start planting in the fall that will appreciate it for spring growth. So.
Got it. And did any of our gardening programming leverage the seeds from the seed library or no?
Yeah.
So they
Mhm.
work together
Okay.
on that. So.
Yeah. So when Tracy and I submitted the grant, our initial request was to really support the garden clubs that were, in existence at several different branches or 5 different branches, but expanding it and trying to support that by offering a tool library for gardening to allow those communities to have access to those tools.
But for
that were
example,
needed.
Lorraine didn't do one last summer. They didn't have a garden last summer. So
No.
it includes herbs and.
Yes, it will include all edibles as well as the herbs. And we will be implementing some of the native seeds as well to support our native pollinators, like the monarch butterfly for the milkweed seed. And then at the West Side Market, we are going to be having a separate, someone's donating, the Holden Arboretum's donating a separate seed library, but it's only going to be native plants at that location. So, yeah. Thank you. Any other
I
questions?
guess I'll see you there.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And the second?
Second.
A point of procedure, is this being accepted into the foundation for us? Like this is a philanthropic gift directly to us?
Directly to
Okay.
us.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Bunce?
Yes.
And Ms. Shakir?
Exhibit 3 is a resolution to accept Best Buy Foundation grant to support tech revitalization at the Rockport Branch Best Buy Teen Tech Center. Whereas Best Buy Teen Tech Centers are invited to request up to $10,000 through the Tech Revitalization Grant, formerly the Refresh and Retool Grant, for hardware and software upgrades to enhance the technology and infrastructure at the Teen Tech Center. Be it resolved that Executive Director CEO is designated as authorized to enter into and execute such agreements and instruments necessary or appropriate to effectuate the terms of this resolution, with such agreements subject to the approval of the library's chief legal officer. So moved.
Second.
And how many years have we been doing this now? Because this is getting to be
Crazy, Martin.
pretty traditional.
Yeah,
You might as well just sit up front, Tracy.
right, for
This
just a
is
couple
whole bunch of
minutes.
them
Yeah,
there.
hi again. We opened the Best Buy Teen Tech Center in 2018. So yeah, it's been quite a few years. And this is like a supplemental grant that we were eligible for after the first year, which allows us to refresh equipment. I know Jasmine and Luigi were not able to be here today, but I know the plans are to purchase a couple new 3D printers for the outdated ones in this space, as well as a new iMac and some kind of really cool camera for the space as well.
What do you do with the old 3D printers? Are they recycled or are they?
That's a good question that I don't know I can answer. I know they're,
Yeah,
Okay.
they're not
Thank
allowed,
you.
they're not allowed to sell them, I think. for
You
the
can
grant
recycle
requirements.
them?
No, we keep the printers. They're still running.
Okay.
Yep.
Are they just moved to a different location or do we just keep them here? Come on. Just to make sure.
Directions to come up to the mic, sorry.
Okay.
Presently, we're keeping the devices. We have enough expertise that we're able to fix broken things or order or actually 3D print replacement parts. So we're not selling them or throwing them away. We're just adding to the collection.
Perfect. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Parker? Yes. Ms. Bunce?
Yes.
And Ms. Shakir?
Exhibit 4 is a resolution to accept a grant from Cuyahoga County and United Way for the Family Space Program. Whereas in October 22, the CPL accepted a grant from United Way of Greater Cleveland to support and administer the Family Space Program, providing essential programming for families with young children. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees, pursuant to the authority set forth in 3375.40K, hereby accepts a grant in the amount of $129,600 from Cuyahoga County and United Way, with $96,007.57 to be deposited into the Early Literacy Fund 258042-42300-28801, local aid, and $33,592.43 to be deposited into the Early Literacy Fund 2580466-4610028801, restricted gifts. Be it further resolved that the Executive Director, CEO, or his designee is authorized to enter into and execute any agreements or instruments necessary to fulfill the terms and conditions of this resolution, subject to the approval of the library's chief legal officer. So moved.
Second.
Come on up, Trace.
It's the Tracy Show.
She's the one that's writing them,
Great.
and she's doing a great job because she's getting them. So, but there is a question for Trustee Rodriguez.
of course.
That's just a weird amount, 129,600.
Agree. We don't have any, they're budgeted through Cuyahoga County's budget, and we just are told every year, please request and agree, like we're written into as a line item for this specific project for this amount. So they give us the amount, and then we tailor our budget to what they tell us we're getting every year. It is incredibly odd.
Is this an increase or decrease from last year?
This is a decrease.
That's what I thought.
Yes.
So which two locations are affected? One is.
The Family Space Program is at 2 branches. It's at Woodland and Carnegie West.
Maybe I've seen that one.
Mhm.
Thank you, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it moved from Huff in 2024 to 2025, and Woodland was the new one in 2025, and will continue at Woodland in 2026.
And of course, those who don't know, United Way is getting out of the grant giving business, and so it's only when they cooperate with governments that we see grants from United Way pretty much.
Oh.
At least large, I don't mean that they don't still give grants, but if you look at what's been their past practice, they've stopped giving grants. They're looking at more prevention research type stuff. If you read their annual report, you can see it in the change, so. Not that it's not controversial, but that's what's happening.
Right. Okay. See you in a minute.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Bucks,
Yes.
and Ms. Shakarian.
Yes.
Exhibit 5 is a resolution to accept a grant from the Library of Congress for the Ohio Center for Book Teaching with Primary Sources Partner Program. Whereas Teaching with Primary Sources, TPS grants, support the development of a nationwide network of organizations that provide educational programming and create teaching materials based on the Library of Congress's digitized primary sources and related online services, thereby expanding innovative strategies, tools, and materials for meaningful teaching and learning. Be it resolved that the Clean Public Library Board of Trustees, pursuant to the authority set forth in revised code 8375.40K, hereby accepts a grant in the amount of $17,500 from the Library of Congress to be deposited into the Ohio Center for the Book Fund account 229042-42100 federal aid. Be it further resolved that the Executive Director, CEO, or his designee is authorized to enter into and execute any agreements or instruments necessary to fulfill the terms and conditions of this resolution, subject to the approval of the library's chief legal officer. So moved.
Come on up, Boozer and Tracy.
It's the Tracy Martin show.
Right, so far. I'll just, again, Don Boozer is here to talk about the specifics of this opportunity. What I can offer is that sometimes grant opportunities are like presented to, our staff here, and then they come to me and say, hey, this opportunity was shared with me. What can we do to apply for it? And versus other times, like when Marina spoke, she was, the seed library is ceasing operations. Is there anything we can do to find? So it's a good example of one where we kind of went out and found an opportunity versus what Don will talk about is an opportunity that was presented to us that was just an amazing fit with the timing and the work that his department's doing.
Hello. So to give you some background, so you may or may not be aware that Literary Cleveland and Ohio Humanities and Ohio Center for the Book and Ohio Anna are collaborating on a year-long celebration of Toni Morrison next year, starting in February and going through February the following year. The Teaching with Primary Sources program was presented at a meeting of the Center for the Book affiliates not that long ago, and we were encouraged to apply for grants. What we thought was this would be a great opportunity to use Toni Morrison's novels. If you line them up in chronologic order of setting, it tells the history of the United States. We have the America 250 going on next year. And so what we did was we used the opportunity for the grant we're going to go out, look for some scholars to write us an essay putting the novels that were set in Ohio into historical context, also to do a discussion guide for reading groups that they can use, both from high school to undergraduates, community members, and then a list of annotated primary sources from the Library of Congress, as well as other repositories that are available throughout, and then to incorporate those resources into the essay and the discussion guide and all that. We're looking at the 3 novels that were set in Ohio, which is Sula, Beloved, and The Bluest Eye. And so those are the three we're going to concentrate on for this grant. We're going to see how it goes and go from there. And the resources will be hosted on various sites. There's the Ohio Celebrates Toni Morrison site that they'll be posted on. We're hoping to do some things with the Ohio Center for the Book repositories. We're going to encourage the scholars themselves to make people aware of them. And then we're also going to have some virtual training sessions for teachers and for undergraduate professors, and then for community members too. And we're going to record those, make those available, that sort of thing. So that's what we're going to use the grant for.
I have a question. One of my best friends from high school she taught at Kent all these years, many years. And Toni Morrison was one of her main people in her canon. Should I have her apply to be one of your scholars?
By all means. If you even send me her email address or give me your email address, we're actually going to send out after the board meeting on Thursday. We're going to send out an email to people that have applied that were interested in being involved in the whole celebration, and just send those out to all the professors and stuff that have expressed interest. So we have a nice little bank, but yeah, we can definitely include by all means.
Great. Her name is Sharon Brooks Carson.
Okay, please. Thank you.
Is there a kickoff event or anything?
There's a kickoff event in Columbus on February 18th. Well, I'm not sure whether it's actually on Toni Morrison Day, but the kickoff is in Columbus. There's a talk about a large tentpole event for Beloved in Cincinnati. There's a big finale in Lorraine, and then we're also in discussions about what we're going to do. But the planning committee for the celebration is encouraging local libraries and community organizations to have events. And then the nice thing is with the Ohio Celebrates Toni Morrison website that there will be a consolidated calendar of events. So you say, well, what's going on in Northeast Ohio? And you'll be able to see what's going on there. And so we're actually in the process of talking about some possibilities for CPL in Cuyahoga County too.
So Lorraine Branch has a fabulous Toni Morrison whole section. I guess.
The reading room, we actually did an audio tour of the Toni Morrison reading room for the Ohio Center for the Book podcast. So if you're not subscribers to the Ohio Center for the Book podcast, I highly recommend that.
Stole one of our good managers.
And just so the historical record is correct, the reason we're picking 2026 is the year Toni Morrison is because
actually we're dovetailing it to the America 250 sort of thing and telling the history of the United States using Toni Morrison as sort of a jumping off point. But I think one of the fun things is that Matt Weinkamp from Literary Cleveland said, we're going to use this as a dry run. So whenever 2031 rolls around, it's her 100th anniversary, we'll be ready to go.
Okay, all right. Because I was thinking, I didn't think there was an anniversary.
Exactly.
Her birth or
her
first novel or anything like that.
The idea for this came up several years ago, and the funding had fallen through and that sort of thing. And so now there's actually funding available. So we're like, let's hit the ground running and celebrate our Nobel Prize winner.
And quite frankly, without trying to broadcast this, kind of snuck by some of the new censors in DC as the Library of Congress. So I'm glad we got away.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I actually got to meet the acting librarian of Congress whenever we went down for the National Book Festival this year. So that's
cool.
That's very cool.
He or she's able to prevent changes on these sort of things. That's great.
Yep. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Butts?
Yes.
And Ms. Shakira?
Yes.
Exhibit 6 is a resolution to accept funding from the Cleveland Public Library Foundation, whereas the Library Foundation has raised restricted funds totaling $368,988.48 from individuals, corporations, and foundations to support the library's programming in early literacy, digital literacy, arts and culture, and outreach services, as well as for collections branches of the Director's Office, which gifts are set forth in detail in the chart attached as Exhibit A to this resolution. And whereas the foundation votes be resolved that the Cleveland Public Library Board of Trustees, pursuant to authority set forth in Revised Code 3375-40K, hereby accepts restricted funding in the amount of $368,988.48 from the Cleveland Public Library Foundation to be deposited in the fund account set forth in Exhibit A. And expresses its gratitude to the Library Foundation and all the generous donors as outlined above in Exhibit A for their support of library programming and services in 2026. So moved. And
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Potts?
Yes.
And Ms. Shakarian?
Yes.
Exhibit 7 is a resolution to authorize amendment to agreement for branch security and night alarm services. Whereas the Clean Public Library is committed to providing a safe and secure environment for its employees and patrons alike, and whereas the library engages the services of private security contractors to furnish security guards at its branches and to respond to alarms outside the library's normal operating hours, be it resolved that this board authorizes the executive director, CEO, or his designee to negotiate and execute an amendment to the agreement with Royce Security Services LLC for branch security and night alarm services to allow the library to extend the term of the agreements effective January 1, 2026 on a month-to-month basis in accordance with the rates stated above, to be charged to the general fund account number 129-30053-53380, and which contract shall be subject to the approval of the chief legal officer. So moved. And Chief, do you want to tell us what's up here?
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So as of December 31st, the library's contract with Royce is expiring, and currently our hiring to full staffing hasn't reached the levels that we anticipated. Full staffing would be 68 officers. It'll be 60 SPS officers and 8 safety aides, so 68 total personnel. Currently, we're at 55 officers and 6 safety aides. We're working with HR. We have been diligently all year. They have slated for January's orientation enough personnel to bring us to full staffing if those people make it through the process. So we're working with it to try to get to full staffing, but so far we haven't. And that's retention, retirements. We have 2 officers retired this year, Yates and Linda Corbin, and people going for other jobs, et cetera.
And basically, is Royce sticking us with the extension, or it's the same rate as we had before?
They did a cost of living adjustment, so it's a little higher than it was previously. Also, I think it's a premium associated with the month to month. But they have been cooperative with us and agreed to, continue to work with us until we reach our full staffing.
So how many officers do you have?
Currently, we have, we're committed to have a security presence in every branch. And so currently we have the supplement, maybe 4 branches have Royce officers. We have a supervisor and a manager to make sure that they have staffing and coverage. In the event that a Royce officer calls off, a supervisor will respond to those branches.
And in terms of the premium for going to month, is it's a 4% premium, or what's the, if you had to guess?
Thereabout.
Okay.
But then at some point, we anticipate not using Royce or contracted services. Like when we can get to full staffing and have a system where there can be folks covering for each other.
Yes.
We will be at, so how? I mean, I know it's difficult to sort of have that crystal ball to determine that, but we want to move away from the contracted services and have full-time staff.
Exactly. By the first quarter, our hope is to have full staffing. Our model for our security services, we have a branch patrol that is mobile, that can respond for coverage when we do have absences and vacancies.
So it could be within no later than second quarter.
Fingers crossed.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we want to, wean ourselves from this
Yeah.
for sure.
I just want to thank to Goins and Harriet, Mrs. Parks, kind of helps with as far as public services is over our SPS department, and our Anna and our HR folks. They've worked really, really hard to do this. They've had a number of job kind of programs to get to this number that we are now, because last year we were in the mid 40s, I think, for this. So we've done a lot of work, and And when you bring so many people on, you lose a number of people. It was like bring on 10, lose 3, bring on,
Correct.
right? But in that same sense, we're keeping the people we need to. So that's.
Yes.
And I think ultimately this is responsive to some public comment we've had at
Mhm.
prior meetings. You know, we're showing that we're working to get
Yes.
off of this contracted security. We want the people to be employed by CPL. And I think it adds also, you know, to the totality of our staff and our officers love working in the libraries and love seeing our patrons, right?
They do.
So I appreciate all the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the second,
Second,
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Butts.
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian.
yes.
Exhibit 8 is a resolution to enter into agreement with HF Group LLC for binding and rebinding library service materials. Whereas on December 17, 2020, the board authorized the executive director to designate an annual or one-year contract effective January 1, 2021 with HF Group LLC to bind Cleveland Public Library materials with an option to continue the contract for 4 one-year renewal periods, thus continuing services through December 31, 2025. Be it resolved that the board authorizes the executive director to designate, execute, and negotiate a one-year contract with HF Group LLC according to the pricing attached to this resolution effective January 1, 2026 to bind the Cleveland Public Library materials with an option to continue the contract for 4 one-year renewal periods subject to the approval of Chief Legal Officer with such expenditures to be charged to the general fund account 141300 54-54710 bookbinding. So moved. And who's going to tell us about this?
Sandy. We don't bring Sandy in front of you enough.
Good afternoon. Yeah, so that's just the binding for our periodicals, rebinding of like paperbacks that we purchase and anything that we need to bind that cannot be bound or fixed in-house.
And I forget, so I want to make sure.
Don't run away, Sandy. Look at Sandy. Good job. He's so
I
fast.
just for the record, I think we should say how much it comes to a year, roughly, what we end up spending on this. Do you know?
We budget about 30,000.
And the second,
Second,
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Butts.
yes.
Ms. Shakarian.
Yes.
And Exhibit 9 is a resolution authorizing a contract with Delta Dental of Ohio for employee dental benefits, whereas the library currently purchases employee dental benefit insurance from Delta Dental of Ohio. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby authorizes Executive Director, CEO, or designee to enter into an agreement with Delta Dental of Ohio for employee dental insurance benefits for a 12-month period term from January 1, 2026 through December 31, 2026 at the increased monthly rates outlined in the attached renewal with Delta Dental of Ohio, which agreement shall be subject to the review and approval of the Chief Legal Officer. So moved.
Second.
And who's going to tell us about the increase?
There was, for this year, an 8.59% increase. We haven't experienced an increase in the past 11 years,
I was
so.
going to say,
Yeah.
but this year is one of those years that
Yep.
everybody's getting an increase, so.
Okay.
And the second,
Second,
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Ms. Butts,
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian.
yes.
And Exhibit 10, a resolution to authorize lease of space to house and process the Cleveland Public Library Center for the Media. Whereas on December 19, 2024, the board passed a resolution expressing its complete support of the library administration's goal of accepting the Northeast Ohio Broadcast Archives into its collections. And after a lot of whereases, be it resolved that the board of Cleveland Public Library hereby authorizes the executive director, CEO, or designee to execute a letter of intent with One Playhouse Square Investors LTD, substantially the form as is on file with the board secretary, and to negotiate and execute a lease agreement for the same at the rental rates set forth in the letter of intent, which lease agreement shall be subject to the approval of the library's chief legal officer, and which lease payment shall be charged to the CPL Center for Media account 235-415-03-53510, rent and leases. So it's a 10-year lease. Tell us about it.
Pardon me, my foot fell asleep.
So we are,
This is a pretty good deal for the Idea Center, by the way.
yes.
This is the.
Michael, you could please join because Michael did a great deal of work to try to work through this. All right, go ahead, Brian.
So the 10-year proposed lease is spelled out in the letter of intent that the landlord has asked us to keep confidential for the time being, which is on file with Trustee Corrigan, but it is nonetheless a public record. So I will speak to it as much as I can here. We have before us roughly $15 a square foot starting proposed rent for the space. It'll increase about 2% per year. And baked into that rate is the fact that the space currently is unfinished. It's not been leased since the Idea Center was last remodeled. So there will be build out needed to be done in order to make this space usable for the library's purposes. Some of that will be paid for by the library. A portion of that will be paid for by Idea Center. But exactly whose responsibility, pardon me, exactly what each party will be responsible as between the landlord and the tenant remains to be determined. We are working or will be working very shortly with Pato Architects to figure out the exact scope of build out. Mostly build out will be interior walls to divide what's right now just about 6,000 square feet of open space into a storage area and a work area. But we also need to design a heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system that will be able to provide the adequate environmental conditions for the materials. And once we have that idea of how complex the work will be, we'll be working with the landlord to determine how construction will be handled logistically. With that, I think Michael can talk more about
Clever
the
collaboration.
project itself.
So most of us have been in the space, but not this part of the space. right?
So when I started looking, I looked in the downtown area, maybe 3/4 of a mile or a mile from Main Library, and this was the least expensive space. And as Brian said, it's a space that has not been leased. It's a difficult space to lease. The floor is 300 feet long and about 75 feet wide, the floor plates in the building. Looking north, you have a great view of Lake Erie, and looking south, you have a great view of Playhouse Square. But I told Alex Russo, I said, we're not paying for a view. So what else do you have?
You want the humidity and
So,
the temperature.
Exactly. So we got right in the middle, which is a very hard space to lease. And so we got a very favorable term. The building has 2 backup generators because of the theaters and the radio station. They have their own chilled water plant, which operates 365 days a year. They have 24/7, 365 security. We can be there. We can access it at any time. It's a secure building. It's a former department store. It can hold the weight of our collections. And the reason I know that, we haven't done an engineering study, but from 1913 to 1925, Cleveland Public Library occupied the 5th and 6th floors of this building.
Really?
With a double stack of books. And so I know that it can hold the weight of whatever we put in there.
What floor will we be on?
We'll be on the 4th floor.
4th floor.
And what's above us then, or could be above us?
I don't know that I know. I know it's occupied, but I don't know by whom. But also in the building is the Cleveland State School of Film. We're looking for collaborations. We're looking for student interns from Cleveland State, from the Cleveland School of the Arts. I mean, everything is on the table. We want this to be a model for the nation. And there are theaters there that we can reserve. There are meeting rooms. So for that $15.25, which includes a substantial build out, we're getting so much more for our dollars. And
Build out include exterior signage. I think that is one thing that they've done, so we can have a Cleveland Public Library Center for the Media sort of
It does.
tag on the building.
It does include some exterior signage. To what exact extent it's not clear. We can figure that out and report back to the board. But I imagine it would be in line with what the other tenants have.
Yeah, I think that brand alignment is so crucial because the film
Absolutely.
school, city
Right.
club, all those groups have
so, yes,
signage. Yeah.
that, and so the Cleveland International Film Festival is programmed there. So there's, as I told the director when we talked about this many months ago, if you plant a seed in fertile soil, you're going to get good results. And I feel that that's what we're doing here. And so I'm very appreciative of Brian and the director's support and the board and in buying into
Mandel
this.
Foundation. Yeah.
And the Mandel, Jack Joseph and Morton Mandel supporting foundation for advancing this. And if I could just say that we have in October advertised for the manager who will run this project. And to date, it closes today, but to date, we've had 82 applications from across the country. So we have very competitive, it's a very competitive position, which is what we were hoping for.
And tell me this is Sterling Linder, the old Sterling Linder.
This is the old Kinney and Levon department store,
Kinney and Levon.
which was built in 1912-13, and Cleveland Public Library was one of the first tenants.
So,
So I feel
Lots of
that,
good media.
I feel like there's good energy in the building from the fact that we were there. That's not why it was selected. That's just an added bonus. And when I told the leasing agent, he could not believe it. That I said, we've rented here before. And I set him up and he couldn't figure it out. I said, yes, back in 1913. And then I sent photographs. And it's awesome.
We mess with librarians, we come with receipts. So
That's right.
And how does Linda Taddick feel about this space?
We looked over it virtually and she loves it. And so I actually engaged her as an hourly consultant for up to 20 hours. And she's going to help plan the space with me and the architect because I don't have the manager on board yet. So I need that expertise to make sure we have the workflow set up properly but the HVAC is important. So the library will hold the contract for that.
2 questions. Timing. When is this expected to be completed? Do we know yet?
No, not exactly. So our next steps here with approval to enter into the LOI, we'll get that signed immediately and we'll get a contract in place with the architects to plan what will be needed for the build out. Once we have that in place, which we expect would probably be about 2 months maximum, because it's not a full scope of work that we usually have with architects. With that, we'll be able to know what needs to be sourced for the HVAC, which will be the largest part of this project. And that's really going to be the determining point as to when the lease commences. The lease will commence on the earlier of 6 months after the signing of the LOI, or 6 months after signing of the lease itself, or the issuance of a certificate of occupancy. So if we're able to get the equipment for the HVAC, if there isn't a long lead time on that and we can get it installed right away, we could be in place in the lease in under 6 months, or it may take a little bit.
I'm pushing for June 1st. That's my goal.
I think with some of the anniversaries and things that we know that are coming up, and I have a million thoughts about partnerships, et cetera. I was just curious about the timing of.
I just saw in my mind the thought bubble over John Lang's head when I said June 1st. I said I'm pushing for June 1st because I know how these things go, but we're going to do everything we can to get to June 1st.
So I'll reserve all my other million questions for a later date. But you mentioned wanting to be best in class, best in the nation. Who else is like a North Star or an exemplar when it comes to?
I've been in touch with the
project
Chicago
like
Film
this?
Archive.
Okay.
And Nancy Watros is the founder and director of the Chicago Film Archive, which I do plan to visit as soon as I have a moment. And I've talked through storage issues with her, space issues. So she and Linda Tottage recommended her as the person I should talk to, and I've had several conversations with her.
Since ALA is in Chicago this year, we should make a point to have trustees who attend,
Oh,
get a tour
I
of the
think she would
Chicago
love
Film
that.
Archive,
Yeah.
so
We should reach out and start trying to schedule.
you can help
Yeah.
start doing that now, so we can get that on the schedule.
And a fun fact that Michael disclosed when we had people at the holiday party to the CAB's representative, there is a palette of Dorothy Fulltime videos. For those who don't know who Dorothy Fulltime is, ask your mom or grandma.
We have probably 95% of all of the known Dorothy full-time footage that exists.
Well,
I mean, if someone has it in the trunk, we won't know about it, but anything that's known to exist. We also have 7 hours of film on the Miracle of Richfield of 1976. So, which is pretty extraordinary to have that first.
And obviously, since we're working with the CABs for the 2026 issues, is it 26?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That we can maybe collaborate and coordinate on some of that as well.
Yeah,
We're hoping.
it might be nice to think about what can happen to kind of like preview or build up excitement for like the full. Launch. But again, we'll leave that to the hands of all the capable people here that are in charge of programming.
Absolutely. I mean,
This is exciting.
we look to build on every milestone event to build awareness. I mean, we don't have access yet, so I get a lot of requests and I have to tell people, well, it's not quite ready. We're moving as fast as we can. I want to serve the public, and it's hard to say, no, it's not ready yet, but when it will be ready, it will be magnificent.
And if anybody asks who wants to contribute, we can do
There you
that.
go.
We're
Yeah.
happy to,
We can expedite the.
I'm happy to turn them over to our foundation people, yes.
Super.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Trustee Corbin, I'm one of those people.
Second,
I need
No
to look
idea.
up who Dorothy is. I
All
don't
right,
know
I'll
who
tell
that
you.
is.
Mr. Corrigan. Mr. Parker? Yes.
Yes, for me.
You. Ms. Butts?
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian?
yes.
Exhibit 11 is a resolution of advanced cash from the general fund to the area literacy fund, whereas the Ohio Revised Code, section 5705.14 provides for the transfer and advance of funds from the general fund to other funds. Be it resolved, the Library Board of Trustees authorizes the general fund advance cash amount in the amount of $19,140.07 to the early literacy fund for the same purposes for which the funds were established, for which repayment in equal amount is made within a year or until all requests for reimbursements have been received. This is our typical housekeeping resolution, correct?
Yeah,
Carrie?
so this is the balance of the grant as we closed November in the Family Space Program. So we won't receive reimbursement until '26. And we can't close the year with a negative fund balance because we've expended the funds already.
And the second?
Second,
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Parker? Yes. Ms. Butts?
Yes.
And Ms. Shakarian?
yes.
Exhibit 12 is a resolution authorizing transfer of funds from the general fund to the debt service fund, whereas Ohio Revised Code Section 3375.40L provides for the set aside of unencumbered general fund balances at the end of each fiscal year. Be it resolved that from the general fund unencumbered balance, the set aside of $3,237,070.06 for debt service payments be transferred to the debt service fund in January 2026, and the remaining general fund unencumbered balances be carried forward for operating expenses. So moved.
Second.
And likewise, this is another housekeeping matter. Nothing unusual about this year.
No, this will be our annual debt service payment for next year. It's just showing that we will have enough in our unencumbered balance to transfer out.
That's great.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Parker? Yes. Ms. Butts?
Yes.
And Ms. Shakarian?
Yes.
Exhibit 13, another housekeeping resolution, Ninth Amendment to the year 2025 appropriation, whereas the Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.40, provides for the amendment of an appropriation measure when necessary. Be resolved that the sums indicated in the attached Ninth Amendment to the year 2025 appropriation schedule be approved. Again, the housekeeping. anything
It's
unusual?
housekeeping. The certificate of estimated resources has really been updated, but that's not affecting our appropriation. A very small decrease in our appropriation in the special revenue funds, and that was for the grants that The Ohio Humanities Council grant was stalled and it is terminated, so we won't be using that grant. And then the board accepted a cybersecurity grant of $20,000 that we have not expended funds for yet. So we're carrying that forward to next year. So we reduced our appropriation there. But we did update our certificate of estimated resources with the Budget Commission, but we haven't received our official amended certificate back from them yet. But you can see on the attachment that we did have a decrease in our public library fund and our property tax revenue. Our public library fund, we had a net decrease of $445,000. But in actuality, we really had we had an actual decrease of $568,000 from House Bill 96. But we collected the sales tax distribution of 24 and 25, so that offset it a little bit to the 445. And then our property tax net increase was $222,000. And then the rest of the updates to the estimated certificate of resources includes the estimated gains and income in our endowment funds that we're going to be posting for year end. And that is approximately $1.6 million on a cash basis.
And that's the earnings, or that's the principal?
That is the income and then the gains.
And the second,
Second.
Mr. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Bunce?
Yes.
And Ms. Shakarian?
Yes.
Exhibit 14, another housekeeping, year 2026 annual appropriation measure. Whereas Ohio Revised Code sections 5705.38 through 5705.39 provide for passage of an appropriation measure not to exceed certified estimated resources. Resolved that the year 2026 appropriation measure in the amount of $7,899,505.06 for the general fund and the listed amounts for other funds be approved as detailed in the attached schedules. So moved.
So the amount for other funds is $17,951,709.93 for a total appropriation in all funds of about $88.6 million. So we started our target numbers in August, and we based our appropriation on our projected revenues at that time, which is $70.5 million. And then we were estimating that we were also going to collect the $3 million in delinquent tax collections. We still have not received our Schedule A from the Budget Commission yet for our property tax certification or our public library fund certification. So we made these assumptions not having that information. Once we projected our revenue, we took our property tax revenue and backed that out, and net of our transfer for our capital assets. And we allocated it to 67% to salaries and benefits and 12% to library materials in order to align with our strategic priority number 4 and our initiative. So the whole team worked on the appropriation, and we fell a little short. The desires came in a little higher than what this appropriation's being put forward to, but we did decrease it, and we're fitting within this appropriation. We fell short in the salaries and benefits category and also in the purchase contracted services within the general fund. And then for our endowment spending, we're spending about 4% of the last 3 years' average market value, which is about $1.2 million that we're pulling out of the endowments this year to spend on our programming. And then in our special revenue funds, it's based on the grants that have been accepted and projected along with our 2026 annual CleaveNet contract revenue, and then just our capital improvement fund balances and projects that we have moving forward.
So does this reflect that bit of a rebalance we've talked about earlier, taking some out of the library materials to move it into the staffing line overall?
Well, we are appropriating 12% to library materials.
Yes, in this
But that's
year.
not as
Yes.
high as
Yes.
past years is my point.
It
right?
was,
That
yes, we did
Yeah.
appropriate 12%.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so for 2026, we wanted to appropriate the similar, budget that we've historically done, recognizing that there may need to be some adjustment for a variety of reasons in the future. But starting from this point, this is where we believe we want to start from.
Yeah.
And then our 4%, when have we looked at reevaluating that 4% spend from endowment with the 3-year look back? When was the last time this board has, I may want us to dig into that a bit.
We have conservatively spent like a 3%, but we have increased it to about 4,
This
maybe
is
to
the
4.
second year, only the second year.
Yeah, second year.
But I think this is a conversation with, especially when we bring our investment folks in to have a conversation, that we can discuss what we do with the investment money. Right now, basically only programming money we use are program funds that come from these programs, and that's a challenge.
We have been advised through PNC that is the annual spend rate for nonprofits on their endowments is a 4.5% annual spend.
I think it fluctuates between 3 to 5.
Yeah.
But then also, we may want to investigate this because it could help the Shanice's arm of the organization if we can take an administrative fee from that to fund the stewardship and the solicitation of new funds for the endowment. So it may be something we want to talk with PNC about further, and I would want Brian's help to look into the legality of it, because other nonprofits and higher ed do this, but I'm not sure for public institutions.
Shanice would be very happy.
But Director, you were saying you wanted to go up from the 12%. I don't remember what Corrigan always wanted way back in the day. What was it, more like 25% or?
For library
Well,
materials?
But
What's
your-
basically the peak we ever were was about, I think, 19.2.
Yeah.
And that was in a heyday.
Yeah.
Back before all the stuff started happening with the state.
But what's your current hope now, Felton?
So we're at 12%. That's, from what is historic is, no other libraries at
Nobody
12%.
was ever at,
Yeah.
nobody was ever at 19. Back when we were at 19, the Library of Congress was jealous of us.
Yeah.
Right,
And
that's
very few libraries are at
too much to hope
15
for.
or even close to it, simply because we have a very, large grouping of different type of materials that we purchase, right? When you just purchase Libby and popular materials, that makes it much easier for you to, have a budget from. But when we buy the research things that we buy and all of those things, it creates a very confusing and complex kind of process that Sandy has turned into a very, very
And it's a
easy
little
process.
higher once we include our special revenue
Yeah.
funds and our permanent funds within that mix.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the way to think about it is, because if you're at this point, the amount of discretion that they have over the income that the state gets is smaller than the budget by a lot, because people are still on Medicaid, people are still on the things, the state programs. And they have to fund those. They can't stop funding those.
Right.
And so whatever increase there may be as availability or any decrease, they're still stuck with those obligations. In a similar way, because we are the Cleveland Public Library with a collection that needs to be refreshed and maintained. In other words, to be the public research library for 8 million people means that you just can't stop renewing certain publications or stop buying the sequels to certain books and those sort of things. And so the fixed amount of what new materials is probably more than half of that 12%. I would say the stuff that there's discretion for is much less than half of what that 12% is. So those are those are the things I worry about the most. We can't stop being who we are because of pressures. But on the other hand, new materials, we're just not as a kid in the candy store about purchasing new materials like we have been in certain years. And so it's a lot of hard work on the part of Carrie and all the people who decide about acquisitions. And I just want to commend them annually at this point. I'm just very proud of what we do. And so do take the appreciation of this board into account as you celebrate your holiday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the second,
Second.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
Mr. Parker. Yes. Ms. Bunce.
Yes.
And Ms. Shakarian.
Yes.
And I think that concludes the Finance Committee report.
Thank you, Trustee Corrigan. Trustee Shakarian?
Thank you,
Please.
President. The regular employment report is Exhibit 15. I presented to the committee detailing the new hires, transfers, promotions. There were no terminations, and one resignation and one retirement. So moved.
Second?
Ms. Shakarian,
Yes?
Ms. Bunce,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
and Ms. Rashid.
Yes.
Exhibit 16 is a resolution for special closings and holidays in 2026. Whereas the Cleveland Public Library desires to keep the public informed of its hours of operation, and whereas the Cleveland Public Library will be closed in 2026 in observance of the following holidays and special closings listed here in the resolution. Therefore, be it resolved that the proposed schedule be approved by the Library Board of Trustees to be effective immediately. So moved.
Second.
Ms. Shakarian,
Yes?
Ms. Bunce,
Yes.
Mr. Corrigan,
Yes.
and Ms. Rashid.
Yes. And Exhibit 17 is a resolution to amend the Human Resources Manual, whereas pursuant to Section 120 of the Human Resources Manual, the Board of Library Trustees must approve all changes to the manual, whereas the library's Human Resources Department recommends that Section 386 of the Human Resources Manual titled Special Library Closings be revised as shown in the attachment to this resolution in order to provide additional clarification regarding how non-bargaining staff are to be paid on days where a delayed opening or special closing is announced due to an emergency. Now therefore be it resolved that the Cleveland Public Library Board of Trustees hereby approves the proposed revisions to the Human Resources Manual as set forth in Exhibit, the attachment to this resolution to update Section 386 as of December 18th, 2025, and instructs the library management to be responsible for implementation and execution of the provisions of this policy and any related procedures. So moved.
Second?
Second.
Ms. Rashid,
Yes.
Ms. Shakarian,
Yes.
Ms. Bunce,
Yes.
and Mr. Corrigan.
Yes.
And that concludes the Human Resources Committee report.
Thank you so much. If there is nothing else, the meeting's adjourned.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you guys.
See you on Thursday.
So what, do we